Hey there. So glad you could be here. How are you doing today? I'm Daryl Ballard, and in today's video, we're going to talk about traffic. We're going to talk about that traffic highway to your online business. Okay, so let's get started. What is traffic? Now, traffic is an analogy that we use for people coming to our business. It's sometimes used in regular businesses, traffic being getting people to come into your front door of your store, your office, or whatever type of business that you have. In this case, you're getting people, you're getting eyes to come to your website. That's what traffic is. Okay? So if you hear us talking about traffic, and you probably have heard that before because we've alluded to it several times in this video series, and many of you may already know, but we wanted to make this accessible to even the beginner. Yes, we welcome beginners as well. All right, so what types of traffic are there? Now, I have a list here so I don't miss any of the ones I want to talk about. This is not an exhaustive list of traffic sources where you can get traffic, but there's a lot of them here. And in fact, if you can master even a few of these sources of traffic, you will do very well. You probably don't want to limit it to one because things change very rapidly in the internet world, but you don't need to master everything, but you do need to master traffic. Traffic is really the air for your business. It's what your business breathes. Without it, it won't survive. Okay, so what are the types of traffic? The first one I want to talk about briefly is quick traffic, like solo ads. That's probably the most common one used in quick traffic. Now, quick traffic is not always the best quality of traffic. In other words, when you get people, there's generally a smaller number that you can convert even with good techniques to customers because they're just not as well qualified. There's just a lot of them are on lots of different lists and that sort of thing. They are a little more resistant to buying, but it is something that can happen very quickly and very easily. Not necessarily cheap, but quickly and easily you can get traffic, and sometimes that has value. I don't use solo ads much anymore. That was the focus in the first place because it was easy, but there is a place for it, but definitely you need to understand that it's not the highest quality traffic, but it's quick. In 24 hours, you can probably have some traffic coming to your site. Okay, what's the second one? Influencer traffic. Influencers, and I'm sure you've heard this term before, influencers happen on social media. Those are people with very large audiences on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. We call those people influencers. And for generally a fairly small amount of money, if they're not one of the biggest influencers, you can get them to do a shout out or place a link or even put some sort of an ad on, and you can get to their audience. And if you choose the right influencer who is in your niche, you can certainly have fairly well qualified people in that traffic that can be coming to your site. Okay, and very often those influencers are not great marketers, are not great at monetizing their audience, so they can be, for fairly small amounts of money, they can be a good source of getting traffic. Number 3 is search media traffic. Okay, the search engines. Most people are familiar with advertising on Google. Bing also has ads. There are other search engines. Those are probably 2 of the most common that people use. Those are usually pay-per-click type advertising. In other words, you're going to pay a small amount per click that you get on your ad. Okay? That's search media traffic. A good way. The amount that costs varies. Google, for instance, used to be a great place to advertise. It became very expensive. I think it's come back down now because a lot more people had gone to Facebook and other places to advertise. Okay, speaking of Facebook, number 4 is social media traffic. So you can advertise on the different social media sites. This is different than influencer traffic in social media, but you can actually advertise on them. Most people know about advertising on Facebook. That was one of the most popular, at least until very recently. Almost everybody was teaching, advertising on Facebook. It was also pay-per-click. You can advertise on these. You can obviously, most people know about advertising on YouTube, putting videos or putting links on YouTube. That's another place that you can advertise. Okay, the fifth one is display media traffic. Display media meaning, let's just use the term banners. You've seen the banner ads on websites and all sorts of places. That's another way of advertising. You can do this on websites. You can do it on blogs. You can put banners on forums. There's lots of different places where you can advertise with banners and other types of display media. So that's display media traffic, also quite a good one and fairly inexpensive. Number 6 is one that a lot of people haven't heard of, and that's CPA traffic, or cost per action. In these situations, you can set up different actions, somewhat of your choice, that you pay per time you get that action, or get paid if you're making money doing that, but cost per action traffic. I'm not going to say much more about that. It's a fairly complex one, but that's one of the areas where you can advertise. And number 7, and the last one that I'm going to talk about, is something that you can use to for all of the traffic that you get after you have gotten that traffic. You get some lead that comes to your clicks on one of your ads, or in whatever way they come to your website. You can do what we call retargeting traffic. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen these types of ads, even if you didn't know what they were. They certainly happen on Facebook. That's one of the big places they happen. Another company that does this is called AdRoll. Those are probably the two biggest ones, and you cover a lot of what happens in that. But when you express an interest in some sort of product or whatever, then all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of ads on that. You have probably been retargeted. That's something you can do to all of your leads that are coming in. You can actually retarget them. It's often with a banner or something like that. Just to give you a quick example of that, I was doing a little research. We need a new mattress, and was doing a little research on that, and I get almost constant ads, banners, videos, everything, and I have been retargeted on that over and over and over again. Okay, but that's something you can do. It's a nice thing to do. It's a way that even solo ads, which aren't maybe ready to buy when you first get them, but it's a way that they can be retargeted later on, and you may actually get a higher percentage of those on down the road because you're doing some retargeting. So when they're ready to buy, you have something that they see and they buy. All right, so that's the different types of traffic, the ones that we're going to mention. Again, not an exhaustive list, and I'm sure you figured out already we're not going to teach how to use these. Each one of those could be probably a day-long, or maybe even more than that, course all on its own. We're just introducing the possibilities here. But where do you learn how to use those different traffic sources? Well, I want to warn you here, there is a lot of garbage, for lack of a better term. There's a lot of garbage out there on the internet. Many of the courses teach you just to do solo ads, for instance, which you'll probably spend more than you make on that unless you really know what you're doing. They may teach single strategies, tactics, let's call it. Not strategies, but single tactics. The other common one that's taught out there is advertising on Facebook. But the algorithm has changed on Facebook, and it has become very expensive to advertise on Facebook. So probably not the best place to go right now. Not that if you've discovered a good way of doing it, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing that or even trying it out in a limited way. But, you know, they'll teach an individual tactic, then the algorithm will change, and all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. That's why I mentioned earlier, you probably need to have several of these figured out so that you can always be effective. You're not held hostage by any one place, YouTube or Facebook, when they change their algorithm or change the cost of doing it. Okay? I'm going to put the second link down below. I'm going to put what I think is the absolute best education on getting traffic, and you can check it out below if that's something you're interested in. But you need to look for things out there. You need to look for education and look very carefully. Check out the recommendations, check out the, because like I say, there's a lot of garbage out there that either doesn't teach you really anything that's going to work at all, or teaches something that was very limited and only worked for a little while. Whether it's working right as you learn that, or whether the time for that has already passed, you know, either way, it's not going to be terribly helpful for you. You need someone who's going to teach you long-term strategies, things that will last long-term, and not just short-term tactics, which may be, by the time they teach them to you, totally useless to you. All right? But understanding the language of traffic is so important. Traffic is the air for your business, the oxygen that your business needs, and you will not survive without it. All right, so again, the first link below is the 4-day course on how to build a successful business to escape the rat race. The second link is what I think is the absolute best traffic education there is out there. And again, it's strategies and understanding what traffic is and the language of traffic so that you can be successful long-term in your business. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Daryl Ballard, and we'll see you in the next video.